That's 5. I won't hit nothing. Too expensive.
Coming home, I'm coming in on, clear the runway.
Alright, let's do this. And not fall down. How are you guys doing today? My name is Westen. Welcome back to the channel. And today is not going to be your normal video you guys are used to watching on my channel. Obviously, we always got buying stuff and you know, fixing junk and finding old junk, and that's not what today's going to be about. Now,
hey, production team, can you set up a chair in the corner for me?
well, that was a little less gentle than I wanted to be, but, you know, whatever. My production team's a little harsh at times. So guys, it is Storytime Saturday. Now, I've never done a video quite like this, sitting down telling a story, but you know what? There's a first time for everything. So, if you like it, make sure you drop a like down below and leave a comment. I like to read them. My mother, especially when I was younger, had a bit of a fascination with European cars. I know, it's just terrible, isn't it? No, you know, some European cars I really like, but when I was a kid, she had a lot of Jaguar XJ6s, and she had like 3 1988 ones in 1990s. Later on, she decided that she wanted a Porsche. She went out and bought a Porsche Cayenne, which, if you don't know what a Porsche Cayenne is, it is a Porsche SUV. It was actually the first Porsche SUV that Porsche came out with. It actually really just changed the landscape for European car makers, because after Porsche came out with the Cayenne, they're like, everybody else was like, well, we need an SUV too. Which basically underneath it all, it was kind of like a Volkswagen Touareg. But I don't know. I think a Volkswagen would have been more reliable. This car, though, was known for one thing, and that thing was being historically unreliable. And I think all Porsche Cayennes, especially the earlier ones, were that way. They never had major issues, but it was having small issues, and no issue that it had would cost less than $2 grand to have fixed at the Porsche dealer. And take in mind, these things were out of my ballpark to work on, especially when I was younger. But in her defense, she would always say, well, it's fast and it's pretty and I like it. So she liked it. In her defense, it was a good car. In my defense, I thought it was a turd. This thing broke down on her in Oklahoma City. And she calls me, she's like, hey, this thing's messed up. And so I hook on the trailer to my $800 Ford pickup, and I rumble on down through there. I was tickled about the situation. I was excited. I was gonna pull a Porsche into the Porsche dealership with an $800 Ford pickup with firewood in the back. I thought this was gonna be an interesting situation. And take in mind, I gotta give you a little bit of backstory on this $800 truck I had. This truck was known to be not very good. The exhaust had fell off at some point, and I never put it back on, so it was just straight off the Y pipe. This thing was historically loud. It was rusted out. The paint was missing on the driver's side. This truck went through Katrina in 2002 or 3, so it had a fair amount of rust, but it did run and it did drive. And the most important thing, the air conditioner worked. Yeah, that was the best part about the truck. The rest of it was junk, but the air conditioner never stopped working. As you can imagine, I pull up to Bob Moore there in Oklahoma City, and they got all these fancy cars. They got Porsches, Jaguars, Ferraris, Lamborghinis, all these awesome cars sitting around. You know what? I pulled more attention than any of them cars ever could. I round around the corner with my gooseneck trailer and this Porsche Cayenne on the back. The thing is just rumbling. Pull up to the service bay door, and then you pull inside because, you know, they want you to feel at home when you have your Porsche serviced, and when they give you a pull up there, and there's no way to go around the door. You've got to go through the building to check in for service. The door's wide enough that I can get the truck through, and tall enough that I won't hit the top of the Cayenne on it. So like, here I go. So I pull my Ford pickup with my 20-foot gooseneck through the middle of Bob Moore Service Center. And all the technicians just stop. It's like, get the silly thing out of my showroom! It was so hilarious. All the techs are sitting there. And you know what? They didn't nearly think it was as funny as I thought it was. So we get out of the truck. I shut this thing off. And I mean, my truck was so loud that everybody throughout the showroom, every salesman, the general manager, everybody came to the window of the service center to see what had happened. Because they're like, that does not sound like European power. Start telling the guy, I'm like, hey, this dang Porsche broke down. I'm bringing it up here for my mother. It's like, okay, we will diagnose it, and our diagnosing charge is about $300 just to look at it for 30 minutes. I'm like, well, that's a little steep, but whatever. This was the exact words. He's like, that's a marvelous tow vehicle you have there. I'm like, yeah, I paid $800 for that truck. And he's like, yeah, I imagine you did. Can you take it around back behind, and then we'll have some technicians come help you unload the vehicle. This guy spoke so fancy, I didn't know how to talk back to him. So I'm like, all right, yeah, I'll get on. You want me to just take it on out the back? Yes, we'll watch, make sure you don't hit anything. Oh, don't worry, I've been pulling trailers since I was 5. I won't hit nothing. Too expensive. My truck had a bad problem. It had a vacuum leak, obviously, because it was $800. So when you fired it up, it'd wrap up to about 2,000 RPM and hold there for a couple seconds for it to wrap back down. So he gets there, and I take and fire this thing up, and I mean, it sounds like all hell broke loose in this service body center. It fires up, it's freaking roaring. Whoa! Finally, the general manager comes out there and says, turn it off. I'm like, well, it's almost done. Yeah, well, let's let it wrap down a little further and I'll get it out of here. So I pull it around behind. A couple techs come out, and one of them, he was the definition of America. Like you imagine him coming out of his '87 Camaro T-Bird with a bush light and a mullet. I mean, this guy was American. He comes out there, he's like, you know what? That was the funniest damn thing I have ever seen here. He's like, we have these dang posh a-holes up here at the dang technician center telling us how to do our job, blah, 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 blah. And then you roll in. About that time, this guy's over here giving me an ass chewing. You roll in. Sounded like a damn Harley Davidson pulling a Porsche on a 20-foot gooseneck through the middle of the service center. And all he does, he turns around and he goes, oh my God, the rednecks have arrived. Needless to say, that was the first time I delivered my mom's truck, or my mom's Porsche, to the Porsche service center. There was many times afterwards, but that was the first time, and it left a lasting impression. I always thought that was hilarious. I love telling that story.